Hello, everyone. Chuck Taylor here, co-founder and chief go-getter at CyberHoot. This is CyberHoot Shoot the Hoot Raw, the only show where we talk cybersecurity like real humans, occasionally rant, trying to set the internet on fire. If you came for polished perfection, took a wrong turn at the firewall. This is unscripted, unfiltered, and unapologetically CyberHoot. Now let's get started. Okay, so yes, this show has structure, like loosely though. Think IKEA furniture with no instructions. We've got segments. We've got feedback from you. If we can get feedback, you want us to change something up, let us know. We might do it or we might ignore it. We might do it, pretend it was our idea to begin with. Who knows? So today, what are we talking about? Our 5 to 10 minute rant is going to be around number one cybersecurity mistake MSPs still make today and how they can profit from fixing it. We're going to have our CyberHoot nerd update. What's new, what's coming out, what's broken. Remember, today's Tuesday. New code just pushed out to servers tonight and new features. Then we're going to have our open mic Q&A. Hopefully some questions and answers come across. If no questions come across, I'll throw a few out myself. And in the future, I'm going to put out a shoot the hoot at cyberhoot.com email so we can actually receive your responses that are coming in. I've set that up just to make sure everything's working. That's coming soon. And then lastly, our Hoot-worthy horror story, where we can actually laugh and learn from other people's mistakes. And then if it happened to you, just kind of like, I hope it's at a point where we can laugh at it now, right? First, it's not funny, but at the end, maybe it is good. So let's hop right into this topic. Number one cybersecurity mistake MSPs are still making. Assuming your clients care about security. Wah, wah, wah. Hold your booze, hold your booze. Let me explain. So I know you're thinking, I know. You may even be thinking, did Chuck send out this clickbait just to get us to join? No, I didn't. You say you know that your customers don't, know they don't care about cybersecurity, but do you honestly know? And what are you doing about it, right? So here's some ideas of some things that I want you to question. I'm going to question you on these things. Think to yourselves, do we actually do this? Are we helping them to understand? All right. So first, when you're talking to your prospects, do you tell them with words that they understand? Or are you out there actually just throwing down a lot of acronyms and casting spells on people, right? Impressive, right? We're going to take the SSL and SSH, and we're going to have that encrypted over your, and to make sure your TCP is encrypted over your LAN, and you're going to be good to go, GTG, I don't know. So acronyms, let that all fly, let it go, right? Put it in words you understand. 2, do you tell them stories that help them understand? Because we added an endpoint DNS encryption, which means nothing to them. But tell you what, Gary clicked on a fake UPS email and it took down payroll. That hits really hard with people. They start to listen, right? Do you show your clients how their staff is clicking on real phishing tests? So nothing says we have work to do, like Brenda clicking on 7 out of 10 emails that says do not click, right? So you got to share with them, let them see the actual phishing test. Are you tying the cybersecurity risk to an actual business downtime and dollars lost, right? Or do you say, hey, our risk surface exposure, boom, boom, and while their eyes are actually glazing over like a Krispy Kreme donut, right? So you want to talk their language, you want to bring it down to them. And then are you making training and security feel like part of their success? Or is this part of your checklist, part of your sales pitch, right? Because you've got to make it feel like they need it to be successful in their business. Because if it feels like homework to them, they're going to skip it like homework, right? So we want to bring it. We want to bring them into this. We want to sell this to them. All right. So what are some suggestions we have? How about trying these few things out? First of all, show, don't tell. Run phishing simulations and share your results in plain English. Telling them they're at risk means nothing. Showing them that Brenda clicked on 4 fake invoices, that's theater. Sorry picking on Brenda so much. She's actually fictional. Brenda, if you're on a call, I promise you I'm not targeting you. 2, do you make the risk visual, right? If your client won't listen to you, show them their password on the dark web next to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That tends to get their attention. They'll perk up then, go, oh crap. Do you tie security to business goals? Like framing security in a way that helps them protect their uptime and their reputation, and not just avoiding hackers, right? They don't care about your firewall. They do care about staying open, not paying ransom, and not showing up on the news. I know We all know, we start our work each day, we sit down, we try to do our job, and boom, something happens, take care of a security problem. We have to deal with this, we have to deal with that person. They clicked on what link? Or, sometimes even your family members call, hey, I got this email and I clicked on it, or I got this notice. Really, really bad, right? So just put it in terms of, hey, you can actually save money and focus on your business and grow your business if you look at cybersecurity training. Do you simplify your message with fewer acronyms and more stories, right? If you say things like SIM and SOAR and EDR and their face melts, that's on you. Tell them, we help you not get wrecked. Boom, understood. Put it in their language, right? Don't try to use the big words. Put it in their language so they understand. 5, offer set it and forget it solutions. Like positions, tools like CyberHoot Autopilot. Yes, shameful plug there. It is CyberHoot, right? So CyberHoot Autopilot. You offer these set it and forget it solutions to them. They want cybersecurity with as minimal work on their part as possible. So, technically, a lot of users don't even want to learn cybersecurity, or even worse, cyber literacy. Yuck, right? But they just don't want to be the next headline. So give them tools that can do the work without them actually doing the work. Now, is this everything that you can do? Of course not. It's just a start. Perhaps what we can do is have an episode where I can share with you some of my sales techniques that I use that has helped me have a conversion rate of 75% or more week after week. All right, that's our topic for the week. It was really fast. Let me see if there's any questions or anything I've come across so far. Don't see anything yet. If you have any question, please send them my way. All right, the nerd update. Let's hop into our nerd update for the week. So, as I've told you before, Tuesday nights are code nights. New codes push to production each night after midnight based upon your time zone. So author night things are going to be happening and pushing out. What are the new things coming out? Here are some of our fixes we've put in place. We resolved the 404 error when simulating certain videos. Because nothing says effective training like clicking on a link that goes nowhere, right? Sorry, hang my head. Sorry about that. We took care of it. Corrected the end date shown in the Hootfish challenge alert. Apparently, time travel isn't a supported feature yet, so we fixed that too. Fixed the date formatting in the manager compliance reports. You asked for normal dates, so we finally stopped using whatever format NASA uses for Mars landings. Lastly, clarified DNS typo squatting report when a domain is legitimate. What does that mean? Translation, we stopped calling your actual domain fake. You're welcome. So those are the fixes. Features and enhancements, what are we doing? So tonight we're setting out, we added the Hoot Ranks dashboard to Autopilot. Now you can see who's crushing training compared to others in the company and who's actually hooting in the dark. Added a cyber rankings view to my assignments, showing them Hoot scores and rankings. So yes, we are one of the only platforms, or one of the platforms that have gamified cybersecurity. Let the shame-fueled motivation begin, right? But then listen, the new page is kind of cool, so I want to show that to you guys. So let me go ahead and share that on screen. You can actually see what our new Hoot Ranks page looks like. And this is what your end users will see when they get to their, let's see here, when they get to, let's hop over here. All right, here's your Hoot Rank page. This is the page that when the end users finish completing their assignments, they'll have a link on the side that shows their actual ranking, and then it'll actually give them a link that says, see more. It takes them to this page. It tells you what your current ranking is. So my current ranking, I'm a Wise Owl Sage, right? And my current score is an 84. I'm currently ranked 6th in the company. Yay! So hopefully that's like 6 out of like 60,000, right? Or more like 6 out of 11. I don't know. We'll see. So the store breakdown. I've had 89 assignments that I've done. I've taken me a total of 89 attempts. Look, I passed every single one, right? Ooh, some late submissions though. So there are some that I've been a little late on. Guilty. Sometimes I see the training come into my inbox. I go, I can't do it now. And I throw it in my follow-up folder. And then I kind of forget about it. And then I go, oh crap, I need to do that training. I did the reminder, right? So that's that lateness there. You can kind of see here underneath my completed assignments that here, this is how I've done so far. And here's the late submissions and the one I've been guilty with, right? And then lastly, at the bottom, you can see my team. I can see the highest score from the highest person on the team, who has the lowest score, right? And it doesn't really say their name, just tells them first, second, third, and it shows you where I am. Look, I'm 6th in the company. for my cybersecurity training. Looks like I'm starting a little bit with my videos. So the average score is an 85. I'm an 84, just below average. Story of my life. All right. So that's the new Hoot ranks that's coming out on tonight, and you'll be able to see that page live. And let me hop over to, there we are. Let me go back to my studio here. All right, so to remove that, let's bring back to stage here. So we took care of the Hoot ranks. That's out there now. So we've also added Hoot rankings API endpoints to the CyberHoot SDK. That's for those devs out there who love data and pain in equal measures, right? So we do our best to put everything we can in the API so that if you see it in autopilot, you can actually see it via the SDK. Lastly, we integrated Doodle tag tracking on sign-up confirmations, because if a confirmation happens, if a conversion happens and no one tracks it, did it even exist to begin with? Well, those are releases for the night, right? So they're going out, they'll go out after midnight tonight, look for those, and give us your feedback on them. All right, moving forward. Next, questions and answers. We're gonna see if any questions have come across yet, and none have so far. So, this is your chance. If you have any questions for me, throw it in the comments. It should stream across here. I should be able to see it in the list here. So this is your time to ask us anything, from security headaches to why won't that training email send, right? So there's no judgment. Trust me, no judgment here, unless you're using password 123. Then yes, a little bit of judgment. Psych, full judgment. Anyways, questions. If there aren't any, I'll throw one out myself. All right. So, does CyberHoot offer anything that can help with sales? So when we first built the platform, we put something in called the sales module. And it was designed for you to be able to upload a list of users into the platform, and it would do a domain check for you. It would check to make sure all your DNS records were in place, like SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, to make sure no one can spoof your email addresses, right? Tend to be you. We would do a phishing scan against those users, and then put a bunch of other like security stuff in there. And we said, hey, once the phishing test, you believe you're done, print out the report, take it to your customer, and tell them why cybersecurity is important, right? Well, every week we start putting more and more features into the platform. Every time I put a new feature in, my co-founder and business partner, Craig, would say, hey, Chuck, that's cool. Can you add it to the sales module? Chuck, please add that one to the sales module. Another good one, Chuck, add it to the sales module. Oh, a lot of work. He wasn't wrong. It was just a lot of work. So what we did in dev, we kind of zoomed out a little bit and said, what can we do to make this easier? So instead, I talked about this, I think, last week. What we did was we gave you the ability, we removed the sales module and all that complexity. We gave you the ability to add a customer for free for 30 days. So add a customer, upload 1,000 users to that customer. Then you can assign them training. You can do a fish test with them. You can do a Hoot fish with them. It'll check out their domains. If they have one or many domains, it'll check out all the domains for dark web. Check out all the users on the dark web. It'll allow you to create a report and generate a report. You can actually take it in front of your customer and try to sell them cybersecurity training, right? And if you're successful, let me show you where you can get that report. In our autopilot platform, you can actually let's remove this, add back to the stage. There's our Hoot rank, but here's our dashboard. So here's your autopilot dashboard. If you go into one of your customers, this is our demo environment. I like to use this Marks and MacGyver customer. Hop in here, go to reports, and then you can download, you click on sales report here. You can download the report or email the report to your recipient or customer or to an email address you want to. Once you have that report, what you can do is you go and you sit in front of the customer and you talk to them. You take all those things that we talked about earlier, right? We talked about, showing them and telling them a story. So this is a nice report you can download and show. Now, I could show you my Marks and MacGyver one, but it's got one user in there. Not very impressive. I could even show you one that is a legitimate report that we've actually redacted the information out. We got white bubbles all over the place, blotting names and stuff. It doesn't look good all blotched out, so I'm not going to show you that one either. Just go to your platform, go to your reporting, and run your sales report there. Now, if you're on the Power Platform, you can go underneath reports. You should be able to see your sales report there and print from there as well. All right? Okay. Any other questions yet? Nope. All right. Next question. How do my customers know their employees are actually learning anything from this training? Now, that's a good question, right? Yeah, that's why I thought of it. So it's one of the questions we hear all the time. How do we know that people are learning anything? So this is exactly why we created Hoot scores and Hoot ranks. So originally when we built the platform, it was simple. You were compliant or you were not. And compliance was measured by, one, did they take the training all the way through? Did they sign like a policy, for example, they had to accept, or did they watch the training video? We would say, hey, they're compliant and done. And then we said, well, to help them learn more, let's add quizzes and questions and stuff to it. So then we started saying, hey, you can be compliant if you pass this quiz after watching the video with an 80% or better, for example. And then what we found was people were going through with that cybersecurity. Remember, I was telling you that a lot of people don't want to take the cybersecurity training. That's why Cyber is trying to make it fun and more entertaining so that people will enjoy it more. But in the meantime, we're still trying to change people, right? They don't want to take their training. So what we do instead is we share with them, you now have to have a certain amount of times passed. You have to pass it a certain amount of time, pass it once, or be compliant, take the training a certain number of times. We had some users in the past that were failing our trainings 10 and 15 times. Now you might go, how hard are they? That's just it. They're not incredibly hard. They're very packed full of information in a short 3 to 5 minute video. And even our Hootfish are really great. But if people just click and go through as fast as they possibly can, they're not learning, right? And they would go through and they would get a 60 and they would take it again. And every time you take one of our tests, our quiz or our Hootfish, what we do is we switch all the answers and the questions up. So it's not always the same test. So people were failing it multiple times. They weren't trying to learn. They were trying to go from memory. Oh, the first one was A and the second one was B. And oh, the first Hootfish was safe. So I'll mark that one safe this time. Meanwhile, it's been changed to suspicious in the next round. So that was a problem. So what we did instead was we put it into CyberHoot, a compliance assurance setting, which pretty much said you can be compliant with the training one of two ways. One, you can take the training at least 3 times. Or 2, you can get a passing grade or better the first time. So let's say someone goes through and they get an 80% the first time through and 80% is the requirement. They can stop right there if they want to. They are now compliant. They've passed. And we'll record their score. But they might say to themselves, I want to do better than 80% and take it again. They can watch again. This time get 100%. Their score will reflect 100. They're still compliant. Let's say someone takes the quiz and they fail, they get a 60. This time through, they fail again and get a 75. Third time through, go back down to a 70. What happened, right? So now they failed it 3 times, which is our default setting. You can go from 1 to 10 times you have to retake it. On the 3rd time they failed by default, we go, all right, listen, you failed this 3 times. We make it positive as possible. Hey, no problem. You failed it 3 times. We're going to mark you compliant. Thanks for doing the work. But in the meantime, you have the opportunity to do this as many times as you want to get a higher score. So at that point, the user can stop with their 70% or 75%, or they can continue trying to get 100. Now, every time you take that test, let's say if one user takes the quiz, they get 100 the first time through, their score is 100. Well, this person may have taken it 4 times. They finally get 100. They have 100 on the test too. This is where those Hoot ranks, those Hoot scores come into play. The Hoot scores that we assign to users is dependent upon a number of different things we measure, right? We look at what was their average score on quizzes, how many times it take them to complete their training, right? And did they take the trainings right away, or they have to be reminded? Were they late like me those 27 times, whatever it was, and a little bit late, which affects the score as well. It all ties into your score. So now, not only do you have compliance to say, hey, look, we're now compliant to show the auditor, look, going my training, good, good. But from a business perspective, how do we know the users are actually getting something out of this? Well, what do their scores look like? What are their Hoot scores? If you have a user if most of your users are 95, 93, 91, 99, 100, then you have 3 users that are like 50, 65, 70. Some people aren't getting it, right? So the ones that are getting the higher scores are learning stuff. The ones that are getting the lower scores need a little bit more of your attention. Right? So I hope you can see how these Hoot scores and these Hoot ranks can really help to see where you're trying to sit in the company. The Hoot scores are for the individual users and for you to see. But the actual Hoot ranks that we just released, and releasing tonight, is allow the users themselves to see how they're doing in the company. And hopefully motivates them, if they're a little bit lower, to move higher up. Or if they're at the highest, they want to stay at the top. They do the training as fast as possible, right? So a little motivation there. All right. So that's all the questions. Let me see if there's any other questions that came in. No other questions. Don't be shy, people. Next time I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be boring if I have to create the questions every single time. All right, let's go on to our Hoot-worthy horror story. So here's a story. It's the $1.2 million email typo. So a small business CEO got an email from his CFO requesting a wire transfer. Everything looked legit. The tone, the signature, even the project name. So what happened? The CEO wired the $1.2 million, only to find out that the CFO never requested and sent the original email. The attacker was smart. They spoofed the email, and they bought a lookalike domain with just one missing letter. Typo squatting, anyone? Can you imagine sending an email, a wire transfer, that cost you $1.2 million? That's right. A missing letter costed more than my house and my self-esteem combined. Crazy. That's gotta hurt. And quite frankly, it could put a small business out of business, which is one of the things you want to be able to talk to your customers about as well, their prospects, about why cybersecurity training is so important. Because one major flaw like this, one major hit like this, could literally take them out of business. So there's a lesson that we learned here. Your staff won't fall for bad grammar much anymore. They don't. I mean, maybe some, but bad grammar, that's kind of going away a bit. But they will fall for good design and a tiny typo. So with AI nowadays making things easier, even foreign countries that are known for spam and trying to trick people, etc. It's in America too. I don't want to say it's just foreign. It's all over. But my point is, even if there's a language barrier, you can now go into AI, create an email with language that's legit and looks good, with good grammar and everything, and put it out there. So that's why it's important from a Hootfish perspective that getting that training, they're learning how to read all the 7 indicators and not just a bad grammar, right? So interesting little thing. Hopefully no one's ever had to do that or had that kind of email, right? If you remember back to last week, I was talking about the fable around, was it Watson? Was it Senior Tom Watson at IBM, when the guy cost him $1 million. He said, hey, I'm not gonna get rid of you, I'm not gonna fire you, just pay $1.2 million to train you. It really happens, right? Just don't let it happen to your customers. All right. So that is about it for the week, right? So we'll hop over. We're going to launch our music. I'm going to thank you guys for enjoying this week's chaos. Thank you for hooting with me. Same time, same questionable life choices next week. Until then, I want you to stay safe, stay patched, stop clicking sketchy links. See ya.